God, hi, happy New Year. Um, I have notes, so if I'm looking down or something, it's because this video could be long, periodically long. Yeah, but I don't want to like go too crazy off, and I also want to like have my thoughts because this could end up being a crazy long rant. But um, yeah, I mean, if it is, enjoy the ride. It's gonna be long, by the way. Anyways, today, I've been talking about this, but I really wanted to talk in a like longer form video, in a video format of me speaking because y'all really need it. um, of just my thoughts on the current realm of influencers, the current kind of my current space in terms of like the internet and social media and just I don't know, kind of what I've been thinking about in that and kind of like partially what I see for myself in this same area. Um so yeah, give me just a second. Okay. Anyways, happy new year. Um yeah, I feel like I haven't made a video in a while because I was out of town for a second, so I'm back. But I've been kind of writing notes about this for a while. I've posted random Instagram stories about this, so if you've seen my rants about influencers and kind of influencer culture and whatever, welcome back. But yeah, I've just been thinking about this a lot because I feel um, like the main kind of place I see influencers is on Instagram because I have not had TikTok for a while. I technically have my account, but I don't use it. I look so sloppy. I'm like, anyways, who cares? Um, I've had Instagram obviously for a while, but I don't use TikTok. I don't have Twitter, which is less influencery, but yeah, I don't use Pinterest. So my main social media is like Threads, Instagram, and I guess YouTube. Um, but I don't know. So to me, Threads feels less influencery. There are influencers, of course, on there, but it tends to be just more like specific thoughts or whatever. And I think it's really easy to just get rid of the content you don't want to see because it's smaller and there's fewer people trying to make it on Threads. Um, but a huge reason why I got off of TikTok in the first place, like a couple years ago, is because it felt like everything I was seeing was just like cool people trying to be cool and display their coolness, um, while having no real value to give to me. But everything felt either too, everything just felt very specific, and it felt like everything was just content farming and very commercial and hauls, unboxings, and it just got to the point where I was like, I don't want to see any of this shit. Um, I don't care. I don't care to hear about your thoughts on something because you don't have real opinions. Like all of your opinions are regurgitated other people's opinions, slightly rearranged, you know. I don't know. So that's why I kind of got off of TikTok. But it's really, really, really started to get into Instagram, because Instagram always just ends up becoming something everywhere else was previously. Um, but I feel like the influencers of Instagram, it's like there's been a shift, I think, um, in the type of influencers who kind of are gaining popularity in this kind of like smaller influencer world of Instagram and these like maybe like micro influencers, whatever. But the big influencers, I don't follow any of them for real. Like, there's very few people that I follow who I would consider influencers on any platform really. I just don't care. Like most of the content I just don't think is for me. I don't think it's interesting and I don't think there's really value in it because it's most of the time simply about shopping and about consumerism and whatever. And that's like the opposite of what I want. I want something that's thoughtful, thought provoking, um, and just stuff that it's enjoyable, it's lighthearted, it's not too serious about itself. And I think that's what a good influencer can be, is someone who's interested in the things they're interested in and also doesn't take themselves too seriously. Um, and I guess what I've been seeing in kind of the current influencer space is that there's a lot of people who are not actually interested in the things that they pretend to be interested in and also take themselves very seriously. And to me, that's really off putting. And it's absolutely not something I want to be involved in. That kind of world feels mm, irresponsible. Um, and I think it's obvious. I don't know if it's just me that finds it quite obvious when people act like this, or I don't know. I guess to say it's disingenuous in a lot of ways to where you can just see when someone does not care at all about what they're saying, or you can tell because everything that they're saying is just trend focused. So let me look at my notes, but what I said first is that and this is partly why I don't want to be an influencer, and I guess we're going to jump back and forth between my experience and what I want to experience, and also kind of the experience I'm seeing online. Um, but basically, this section is like selling out. I a lot of influencers and a lot of smaller influencers and stuff, you can tell that there's a lot of this like waiting to get paid for someone else's vision. And um, a lot of influencers, and I think this is just the way that social media has gone over the past few years. I think since like TikTok got really big, and obviously people were doing branded content and sponsored posts and stuff before this, but I think TikTok has made it more accessible for random ass people to be getting sponsorships and be getting paid for things that are not of interest to them. And I mean, this is how any brand has worked. This is celebrity endorsements from the 70s, 80s, whatever. I'm sure they weren't wearing, the Hanes underwear, or maybe they were, but who cares? Who cares? But it was a select group of people. But now it feels like so many people are trying to vie for sponsorships, for paid posts, for ads, whatever. But you then become a walking billboard or a posting billboard. And it's all about the other person's vision. And especially in terms of like fashion stuff, I think, there's very clear visions of what these brands want you to be. You can become the Chanel girl or the Prada boy or whatever, and you just become exactly what they send you. You wear it, you send it back, and you post it, and you send it back. Like, it's you might keep one thing or whatever, and or you become the PR type of influencer who gets all the unboxings and you become known for your unboxings. But what happens to all those things? You have to sell them, you have to get rid of them, you have to donate them, you have to do whatever. But you become this person who's constantly waiting for the dream bag or the dream collaboration or the dream this, that, and the third. But what is the dream? Where does your dream start and where does the brand end? Where does the brand start? Where does the dream end? Whatever. Um, I think part of this is kind of, I'm wary of how people treat these things in their own heads, of how they aspire to these things. But I also just think it's really, oh my god, there's lots of noises around me. There's a bus, there's the radiator. Sorry. Um, I think there's a lot of like selling out, honestly. There's a lot of people who sell out their own creation, their own vision for how they want things to get paid. And in so many ways, there's a lot of waiting to get paid. Like, there's all these like net 90 type things, and people not getting paid for their work for like a long time. But I find it annoying. I find selling out some of the most annoying shit ever. Like, when the type of person who, oh my god, this bitch shut up. The type of person who is going to rail on fast fashion and then go buy uh, the Glenn Martin's collab. You know, like they're gonna do that stuff at H&M. Like, or the type of person who's constantly railing against polyester or shopping in this way or thinking this way, um, and then doing the exact same thing behind everyone's back or whatever. Um, and part of that is like it's like that, but then there's also part of this thing of like becoming a part of the system you don't like, or becoming um you know an advertisement for the things you don't like, or becoming a part of that advertisement for something you may like but may not be actually good or important for other people, but now you're selling that thing. And I think a lot of what influencing is right now is consumerist. It's about being a salesperson with your own interest also in mind. It's like a lot of like sales jobs, you know, they want you to be interested in their product, but not too interested, because then it becomes for your own good outside of getting paid, but also, you know, you're just there to get your employee discount and move along, or you're free this, that, and the third, and move along. And it becomes self-serving as much as it is, you know, interest in the product. Anyways, that's just kind of my first thing, is I just think like selling out is really annoying. Um, but I think specifically with influencers, it's just really obvious to see, especially because we have to, there's like disclosed ads and all this stuff. Um, but I think with influencers, and this is what I said next, is like the landscape of what influencers do is kind of grimy. A lot of them choose to sell out for that aspirational thing more than commit to being an interesting person. Um, and yeah, it's kind of what I've already said, but I think there's a lot of, right now especially, there seems to be a lot of this influencer who is a pseudo intellectual, um, you could say a commentator class, of influencers who their work and their creation exists in just simply commentating on things they don't like, which I'm doing, um, or, you know, ways they think other people should be better, without really having to be anything themselves or have proven anything themselves. But there's a lot of this 10 ways to be chic, or 10 chic things that I think you should own this season. And this is across the board. This is with more niche stuff, this is with very popular stuff. You see it all the time. Chic, not chic, whatever, all this bullshit. But it tends to come nowhere from within. It comes completely from what they're seeing. And I think kind of in the few relationships I've had with influencers and friendships and whatever, so I say relationships, but relationships, you kind of see sometimes into certain people's, into their inspiration or their drive, and it's really just to find what is popular, maybe in a more niche thing, but kind of presented in a slightly different way. Or I think it's really easy to do that. I think it's really easy to see that, you know, Laura Violetta is doing these really crazy makeup things, and you can point that as chic and really cool, and this is subversive and whatever. And it's like, if I hear the word fucking subversive again, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, um, it's ridiculous to think, oh, because this person's doing something slightly different, I can now put myself there by creating as something aspirational, and I can align myself with these aspirational things, and because I align myself with that, I'm now cool. Okay. um but uh, that's kind of separately what I'm saying. I'll get more into that stuff. um but part of this kind of selling out thing is, um I've seen this happen of like, especially in these like 10 chic things or things I think you should own, whatever, is this kind of like aspirational advertising. I did talk about this on Instagram, but sorry, this radiator is so loud today. I did talk about this on Instagram, of the aspirational kind of advertising And I think there's a lot of this kind of um, hoping to get sponsored by talking about pieces that are getting sponsored or talking about brands that send out PR. And I think it's really clear and obvious once you start getting into this type of content, especially on TikTok. I think once you start seeing, oh, who's getting the giftings, who's getting the PR, who's getting this, what do they talk about, what do they do, how do they talk about the products, how do they talk about this brand, it's really easy to fashion commentary, and it's really easy to fashion content around what other people are getting in order to get the same things. And I always question, like with influencers, when they start talking about specific products, specific brands, are they hoping to get something out of that brand? And I think it's a really interesting thing, because I feel like PR in this way, and like marketing and gifting and stuff in this way, is such a different topic than it has been in the past, but it feels kind of new in how they operate. And the established kind of influencer or the established celebrity is not as prominent. Like the celebrity placements are going to be there, but then you can also place it on an influencer with 5,000 followers, and it can be just as good. And for them, that's like their everything. But for the celebrity, it may be nothing. But for these like normal people, it's everything. Um, and at what point do influencers sell out more for the aspiration and become, then they become the walking advertisement. But what happens before they become the advertisement? Do they advertise those things in order to um, gain access? And I don't think it's all bad. I really don't. I think there's ways to kind of understand your love for something. Obviously, I talk about brands that, sure, I would love to get marketing and PR, gifting and shit from them, but I don't talk about these brands because I want those things. I talk about those brands because I enjoy what they have done. And if you've seen my like Prada, Miu Miu collection things, clearly I buy into these things in different ways, but I have an interest in those brands on my own. Now, if they were to do something with that, sure, I would be happy to, but I also think I wouldn't be happy to just glaze them for the rest of my life. Um, and that's a whole other thing, is that the content becomes more important than the content of praise becomes more important than the content of interest. Um, but yeah, I think there's some influencers that you've seen, that I've seen, that have wholly sold out into becoming content farms. They have become not interested in creating something of their own enjoyment, but they've become something for the enjoyment of brands. They have become the jester of brands, and we can watch them just in court, and we can hee hee ha ha, but at the end of the day, that brand is still the ruler. Anyways, this is back to me personally. Um, but I have personally really been against making my life an ever spiraling content format. I don't want, I've never wanted anything to do with constantly spreading my life online. I don't think me getting dressed every day is interesting enough. I don't think, and it's not because I don't see value in myself. It's because I don't think it matters to, I don't think it should be seen as more important than what you do, you know? And this is not to virtue signal. I think this is just simply how I am. I don't think that my daily routine needs to be recorded because I don't want to record it. I do not feel like there is more value in my kind of existence. I think documenting things is fine. I think it can be cool to just vlog or whatever, but I think some people see themselves as maybe more important, or that what they do is like genuinely aspirational and should be aspirational to other people. And to be so real, I just don't think that's important for me. I don't think that's interesting to me. I'm not going to say that nobody else's life can be interesting and that I can't find interest in other people's lives, but um, yeah, I just don't find it to. I don't find any kind of inspiration to document every single thing I do and turn it into something for other people to be entertained by. My life is my life. I want to be entertained by my life. I enjoy what I do on my own, with the people I love, with the people I enjoy, and I don't want my life and then in extension their lives to become how I make my money. If I want to sit here and talk about the things I'm interested in, that's what I want to do. If it's something that I'm finding, something to talk about, that's what I'll do. But I never want to make my life whatever. And that's not to say I would never film parts of my life. I have thought about doing it and I just kind of forget sometimes, but there are genuinely times where it's like I would love to do kind of shopping with me or whatever and kind of film these things, but I find it annoying personally to constantly have to be filmed, recorded, photographed when you're out and about and constantly be asking someone for other content or setting up for content or doing all this stuff. It's just tiring to me. I think that would be so exhausting and I think it feels very self-righteous. Yeah. But again, I think there's some things where it's like you can just tell it's a case by case situation. I don't think everyone is like this. I think you can see when someone is getting these things out of like love and joy and enjoyment, whatever. But yeah, and then part of that is that I just don't want to become a brand of myself, and I don't want that to be something that I strive for. I never want to be. It's not that I don't want to be known for one thing, but I don't ever want my looks or the way I have taste or perceive taste or my style to be what I am known for. Um, and that I strive for those things. I don't want that. I want to be if I'm going to be known for something, I want to be known for, obviously like being nice and personable and whatever, but those are things you know about somebody in person. My friends know that about me. The people I am in relationships with know that about me. Um, they can talk about how I am as a person, but what I bring to this online space is not about me. I mean, it could be about me being nice, whatever. It could be about me being a good person. It could be about my interests, but I want it to be about my interests, not solely based on, oh, are you a hot person talking about whatever? Good, great. Like that's just unimportant to me. Um, and I think for me, it would just kind of spiral. I don't know. I don't think it would be good for me. Um, but yeah, let's get back to other influencers. So this is going to be influencer snark for a second, but um, I think a lot of fashion influencers right now, especially that I've seen, kind of rely on compiling other people's tastes, and I'm reading this, but compiling other people's tastes that they may be attracted to in order to create some semblance of taste. I said part of this earlier of like the Laura Violetta, like aligning yourself with other people that you think have taste in order to show your own taste. And I'm not saying that liking other people with taste means you have no taste. I think you have to have some form of taste to be aligned with the more avant-garde designers or care about like minimalism or any type of design or whatever. You have to have some type of informed taste, influenced taste, and I'm not going to pretend like taste has no permeation with influence. I think all taste to some degree is going to be influenced from somewhere, from something, somehow. I think especially with the whole idea of that, like wealthy people have taste and whatever, or that wealthy people do not have taste, they do not inherit taste. I think it's interesting because you kind of see how it's like sometimes taste is really nurtured in wealthy people and they end up liking things that are interesting and that they know quality really well and are kind of innately have these tastes because they grew up around those things. Um, and it could also mean that they are impermeable to bad taste. But I think you can see this through, certain designers having great or bad taste, but it's based off of kind of where they've come from. Um, but I think that a lot of taste these days, and there's this taste that is more of a trend based taste, um, that is kind of circling and making the rounds right now. And I think a lot of influencers, especially in these more niche spaces, tend to have this issue, is that their taste comes from other seemingly niche things that they are able to piece together as a Pinterest board, as some kind of interest board, taste board, and it's able to be compiled as if their life or that their existence needs to be a mood board. And that is then placed through somewhat of their own lens and then regurgitated, thrown back at us, and sold to us through other means too. I think you can see this through all of these shopping guides, through all of this, um, you know, 10 things I find chic, or chic people, or chic things that chic people do, whatever. It's a lot of this. It's a lot of, I am seeing someone that I think is chic, in these very small instances, do this thing, or they wear this brand, or they dress this particular way, or do their makeup this particular way. I find that kind of chic or kind of cool, so I'm not going to sell this to you as if I have like this ultimate taste, as if I did the thing. Um, not to say that you can't have taste without doing it. That's not true, but it's like if I were to go to an art show that has been carefully curated and whatever, and then pretend that I curated it. It's like this person's chicness, or this kind of group of things chicness, um, exists or can exist, and you can call it that, but those things have been created by that person, and then now you are kind of leeching off of these creators or other smaller creators actually sometimes too, and selling it as if I have that taste or I did that thing. And that's a lot of the stuff too, is that there's a lot of people also that kind of, you can see where they got it from, but you would have to know that they got it from there to be able to explain why they put this as their chic thing. Were they going to put those Byredo color sticks? This is just a random example, but were they going to put those Byredo color sticks or that Byredo eyeshadow palette as a part of their chic things that cool girls have if they didn't know of Lara Violeta? I keep using her because it's easy and a lot of people use her as like a chic person. Um, or, do you think that tiger tights are cool, or like that you're gonna do this because you have the taste, or is it because you've seen Chloe Sevigny and what's her face, Leandra Medine, wear them because they have taste, but then you can take that product and share it as if it is your own taste. You see what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm not explaining this one. I feel like this is really long-winded, but I just feel like there's a lot of this kind of chopping and screwing and trying to create it, but it's like a lot of these things exist in the same spaces already. So if I myself as the video watcher is already in this space with these people and these things because I am interested in those things, why do I need you, the influencer, to now tell me that these things are chic and this is how to buy them? I'm already there. Do you see? I'm already in that space, so I don't actually need you to do this, and it's actually really uninteresting, uninspiring content because you're doing the exact same thing I'm doing, but now you're selling it to me as if you are better than me, or you are the salesman to me. I don't get it. Why are you doing that? It just feels a little bit self-righteous and a little bit trying to puff up your own chest to say, I have taste, so I should tell you how to do this because I am interested and I'm interesting. But yeah, And then on top of that, I think um, a lot of that specific type of realm of influencer is really just trend based, and it's really only disseminating other trends that they're seeing around them. And I think they're trying to sell it as if they, with their good taste, they can recognize these things. And I think we started seeing this particular stuff in the trend reports, or the trend oh god, what was it called, trend something, um like every year when people were like, oh, I think this is going to be trendy this year, whatever. And I don't think that all trend reports are bad. I think trend reports is fine. I think some people are really good at doing these things in very nuanced ways, understanding why something may come this way because of how they see culture or whatever. But I think there's also a lot of it which is just kind of it's almost like it's just seeing the things that are already happening. It was the whole subversive basics trend thing when it was like, this is already happening and it already is a trend, but maybe it's not a trend to these people, or maybe they're only seeing it in small spurts because they're seeing it on TikTok here and there. But now you're telling everyone, oh, this is going to be a trend. Girl, it's already a trend. But because you're now seeing it as a trend, now you're thinking you have some different audience. But I don't know, I just don't, I don't find it interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think for me personally, I just don't think that I need to sell you my taste. I don't think I can present to you the things that I find tasteful, I think. And I think that's what's interesting, and I think that's where the kind of art curation thing is interesting, is that people who curate art do not claim to, and I'm not saying like people who curate art are devoid of ego, um, but I think that the kind of art curator knows their place as a curator, and they have to seek out art. You cannot go to a show and then curate the same art show and call it your own. You have to seek out other art, other things, and find things naturally, and or not naturally, but through research and understanding, that is going to guide your taste. But I think your taste also guides the research, um, in order to create something new and different. I don't think that trends are all bad, and I don't think that it's all bad to say, oh, I think this is trending, or I think this is cool, and it is trendy. I think there's plenty of people who have done that, and it's like totally fine. But personally, for me, I'm just not trying to sell something that is my taste or anybody else's. I don't need to sell you that this person has taste and here's how to get it. This person is chic, here's how to get it. I don't care. I don't need to tell you that. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. I want to talk about things that I'm interested in. Yeah, sure. I'm sure taste has something to do with that, but I'm interested in that because I'm interested in that. I'm not interested in that because I see, oh, you may be interested in that, and because those numbers do well because you're interested in it, I need to be interested in it, and I need to create a video of how to be interested in it. What the fuck? Like, I don't know. It's just that type of stuff is really irritating, and I think especially when it comes to these like hyper consumerist taste making things, um, they treat it as if taste comes from a purchase or taste comes from consumption. And I guess I'm here to say that taste comes prior to that. Taste comes before a purchase. Taste is something that is much deeper and is something that is tied, I think, to your whole life. I think it can't just be trendy and can't just be interested in what is now, because taste is something that literally is going to come from all facets of your life. Not to talk about myself too much, but it's like, I think, especially with my own style, in many ways, it comes from so many different parts of my life, so many small little particular parts of my life. And sure, I love those Miu Miu soccer cleats or those cleated heels, but the reason I talked about the cleats in fashion in the first place is not because I found that, oh, this one video is trending, I need to get in on that. It's because, as I said, I played soccer, and so that's why I cared about the interest in the intersection between that sport and fashion. I played soccer for so many years, and I've always found the cleat interesting or a cool shape, and I always thought it was wacky. And so when I see it's kind of overlap with fashion, it's like that's something I'm interested in. And I don't think that I think you can do those things and then still be, doing all this other stuff. But I find things like that so much more interesting because that's the true niche, is when it's connected to your personal interests, your personal experiences, and what really is coming from you. And I think some of the best influencers are people who can present something without expecting you to then have to re-present it. I can watch a video about um some random fashion thing that was happening and kind of how we're seeing it today, and have, whoa, that was a really weird, sorry, bouncing. Um and I can not have anything to do with that fashion trend. I cannot care at all about the clowncore fashion trend, yet I can still watch a video that comes from a deeper understanding and a deeper knowledge of where this is coming from, and find value in that and just say, hey, cool. But it doesn't have to sell me anything, because it's not this is good taste or this is bad taste. It's just interest. I think that's why we kind of look back at older YouTube and older content and find these things really interesting and find them really good, is because these people really cared about the games they were playing, the recipes they were making, or this. Why do we not tap back into this understanding that interest, real deep interest, is what drives people to care, other people to care. Yeah. Anyways. So that's a lot. I've had so many thoughts on this, so it's kind of annoying, and I'm sorry that this is gonna be damn near 40 minutes. This is crazy. Anyways, back to taste. I think taste is being seen kind of now as social currency. I don't think that it equals social currency. I do not think that taste is the same thing. I think taste is also being seen as a virtue, that if you do not have taste, that you're bad, or that it's that part I'd have to think about more. But and I think that a lot of influencers kind of use their ability to curate taste as a way to assert their status, even though it really doesn't have any meaning. And I'm just reading these points, and maybe if I need to explain, or if you want an explanation, I can go into it. But yeah, I just think, especially when the curation is simply regurgitating other people's curations, and aligning with other people's taste does not equal taste. And I basically already said that. So, anyways, but yeah, I just think, for me, influencing is something, I think that there's obviously always been influential people, and there's always going to be influential kind of things in society. I think every society is going to have people that they're influenced by. Obviously, we have great philosophers, we have educators that become big and popular and known and well known because of their influence. Influence is nothing new, but I think influence has come from charisma, yes, and I think that's, a lot of what influencers right now rest on is their ability to have charisma and present something with charisma. But charisma can only go so far, and I think a lot of these things would end up kind of dying, because there's nothing behind it. There's no interest, there's no intellect, and there's no real creation. And I think it's just what's interesting, especially when people talk about being creators, or creatives, is that a lot of times it's piecemealing together a bunch of other people's actual creations, and writing it off as if you are the creative. And I don't think having taste means that you're creative. I don't think that being able to recognize other people's taste means that you are creative. I think if you are able to genuinely create other things, genuinely create good, intriguing, interesting things, then yeah, sure, label that as being a creative. But even if we're thinking about like stylists or stuff, there's a lot of stylists that you can see, and it's like, well, you can tell exactly who, if you're knowledgeable enough, you can tell exactly who they're inspired by, who exactly their inspirations are. You can see, and I think that's a lot of kind of the issue with a lot of fashion stuff right now, is that you can tell exactly which camp they sit in and where their inspiration comes from. And sure, they have the ability to create garments that kind of transpose these things, but does that mean that they're actually genuinely creative if they're not doing something with it? Makes you think. Anyways, that's enough. I feel really annoying, but it's just been, I've really rethought my own kind of relationship, and it's made me rethink who I follow, who I, even sometimes it just makes me think of like getting off social media for a while, and I should, realistically. Um, but yeah, I think it's really kind of hard to navigate social media right now because there's a lot of these things where if you're not aware of where they're what they're getting it from, you may be pretty susceptible and think, oh, that is cool, that is nice to see, or whatever. Like, but if you have the knowledge of those things and kind of the intentions of these people, and this is not even, I don't want to get into the personal stuff, but sometimes when you start to know kind of how people work and the intentions of their work and the intentions of why they pull from this person or why they think, oh, this is going to do well, or just the fact that they're only looking for the numbers. I think it's really off-putting, and I think once you start to understand that and understand, you know, these people understand their analytics really well. They understand the analytics of the people that they take from really well, and they understand how to get maybe potentially similar analytics. But I think ultimately that type of creation, that type of curation and taste only can last so long because it's very behind other people's success. It's very much trying to not take from other people's success, but it's trying to take the same notes from other people's success. When they are genuinely creating, they are genuinely making something that they find interesting and doing things that are interesting to them. And then now this second person is trying to take notes, reheat the nachos, one could say, and trying to pass it off as their own. But yeah, if you want an addendum video, I would say please watch Ryan Finn's video about like New Taste. I'd have to look up the exact name, but she posted it like this week. But it's about New Taste, and I'm so annoyed because I've been writing these notes for so long, and she just did a video about it. I'm not actually that annoyed. I think we're synced up right now, but that video is also really good. It did not inspire this video. It is an alongside this video because I have been thinking about this for long. If you know, I'm just kidding. This is silly, but yeah, I think that video is very interesting as a separate topic to what I'm talking about, but it touches on similar points, and I think it's a very interesting, probably much better articulated than me. Absolutely, I'm not even gonna say probably. It's absolutely way better articulated, but mine is just more specifically about influencers, what I think, what I want. But anyways, it just means I want to do things that I want to be interested in and that I am interested in and that really propel me to be more creative or think about things more creatively or understand my intellect differently. That's why I care, and that's why I want to share these things, is not so I can lord my taste over you or my interest over you, but to share those things in a way that you can share back. I want things to be shared back. I want things to be a conversation. That is the point of social media in the first place, is that we have shared interests. We can talk about these things. We don't have to agree on these things, but I'm not going to tell you this is what you have to do to be chic. Because I don't care. You can be chic how you want to be chic. I'm not going to pretend like I'm chic. Look what I'm wearing. This has sticky fingers, messy fingers. Like, hello? I'm wearing a hoodie. I'm not going to sit around and pretend to be better than you. But yeah. 45 minutes. Oh my god, I gotta go.